Hello there. My name is Vera Wild, and I have a little something to say to Benjamin Shapiro. If you are not familiar and do not know who Benjamin Shapiro is, I would not encourage you to actually Google him, but he is a social commentator who, let's say, has some very firm stances on certain issues. One of the ones he has really made his bones about is transgender issues. Now, I apologize, Benjamin. I started referring to you as if you weren't here, and of course you are, because you welcome debate, don't you? You certainly like to appear as though you do. But whenever it comes to the issue of transgender people, you always say that you will refuse to acknowledge their preferred pronouns. Whenever you speak of a transgender woman, you always use he. And you make a point of pointing out that you do that. Now, Benjamin, I'm not here to do a takedown of, the nature of language and your, purported reasons for doing this and the reasons why you say it's allowable. Much better videos have already been done on that. I'd recommend looking at ContraPoint's video if you haven't already done that, Benjamin. So instead, I want to make it just a little bit more basic. I want to make it just about the nature of social interaction, the way we talk to each other, Benjamin. And if you're watching, or if anyone who knows of him is watching, they may be wondering why I'm referring to him as Benjamin. Because he goes by Ben. In every interview, in every thing that he posts of himself, his byline, his name is Ben Shapiro. Very clearly his preferred name. But it's not his birth name. His birth name is Benjamin. And if we were having this conversation one-on-one, in person, I tend to suspect that if I were to be doing this, that Benjamin Shapiro would say, I would prefer to be called Ben. At which point I could say, well, I understand you prefer that, but I'm not going to call you that. I don't care that it's what you prefer. It's not the name that you were given at birth. I don't have to acknowledge your preference. I am allowed to go by this, and it's backed up by a simple fact. It was your name at birth. I'm going to call you Benjamin. But I don't do that, Ben. And the reason that I don't, and I did it at the front end to be illustrative, is because, technically speaking, I would be correct. I would be correct to say your name at birth was Benjamin. But to insist on continuing to call you that after you express a preference to be called Ben instead of Benjamin, there's a very basic thing that would make me. That would make me an asshole. And that has nothing to do with being right. Just like your insistence at calling transgender women by masculine pronouns. It doesn't matter whether or not you can make a case for why you should or shouldn't be allowed to do that. You're being an asshole. And you can engage with people in a socially acceptable and congenial fashion without denigrating them, without being an asshole. Because ultimately, you can dress it up as much as you like with free speech. But at the end of the day, you just refuse to be polite. You just refuse to not be an asshole. And that's the hill that you've decided you're going to die on. Your right to be an asshole. Because you know what? You do have the right to be an asshole. And, we also have a right to point out that, hey, you're being an asshole about this. Because you are. Because when you do this, when you refuse to engage with people in good faith, in the simple, basic manners of conversation, you're not making a principled stance. you're being an asshole. And again, you have every right. So that's the stance that you make, Ben. That is what you have decided is going to be your legacy. The right to be an asshole. Well, you know what? You win. You are, in fact, an asshole. So I'll leave you to it then. And I have no illusions that you will actually see this, but I think I've hopefully made my point. And if you see this and you think that it's still in some way a principled or good idea to just deliberately go out of your way to denigrate people and undermine their identities and make them feel like they are not human, well, I guess I can't stop you from doing that. You asshole.